Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, our production of Gore call in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives after they put out important news. And today's news isn't important. It's record news, record revenues out of DraganFly. We're talking to Cameron Shell. He's the chairman CEO. The company trades in both the U.S. on the NASDAQ, DPRO, and for our friends in Canada, also under DPRO. And for those new to the story, you saw the record revenue number. Guys, if you love drones, if you believe in the future, what drones are going to do in our society, for our business, for our personal, for our health, then you're going to love this interview, because DraganFly is an award-winning, life-saving, record revenue-generating, industry-leading drone solutions company. They're not just selling the drones, guys. They're selling solutions. They're established in 1998. They're considered the oldest commercial drone company in the world. This isn't your recreational drone company. What they do is create cutting-edge drone solutions, software, artificial intelligence systems that revolutionize the way organizations actually do their business. That's why they're an industry leader with tier one clients, from law enforcement, global law enforcement, to enterprise style companies. More than just lip service, guys. Look at the revenue growth. 2019, 1.4 mil. 2020, 4.4 mil. 2021, over 7 mil. And now Q1 was a record revenue, 2 mil. This Q2, another one. That's what we're going to talk about today. About $2.4 million in revenue, another record quarter. And usually I go through, partnerships, milestones. I don't even know where to start with this company. The first drone to be inducted into the Smithsonian the first ever medical response search and rescue drones deployed in the Ukraine. A strategic partnership with WOZ-ED, the Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak's K-12 ed program, and on and on. Cameron, welcome back, my friend.
George, I love it, man. You get me jacked up about our own business. I'll tell you, it's awesome. It's so fun to be. Monday mornings, which it is here right now, obviously is they're a grind. And I knew I was gonna have a good Monday morning because I got to spend some time with you.
I'm your caffeine shot for the week.
Exactly.
Well, look at my name, right? George
I see that.
Drone Lover. Usually I put founder, president, awesome, drone lover, man, because I love our interviews.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Let's talk about Q2 first. A record, congratulations. So that is in line with your mission of making DraganFly one of the top two drone solutions companies in the world. That keeps going, so that you're achieving that. But what I want to talk about was the fact that you did it in a Q2 that was a disaster for the global economy. Q2 is April, May, June. May was everyone was running with their head on fire. What does that say about the strength of DraganFly's business, its pipeline, and where it's going? The fact that even when the world's kind of on fire business-wise, you're growing.
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for the observation. Again, thanks for the time and the opportunity to talk with you. So the bigger story there isn't about DraganFly. It's really about the industry. And this industry, it's going from a $20 billion industry to a $40 billion industry in 7 years. And the primary reason it's going to that $40 billion industry in 7 years, and this is the first time I've read these projections and said, yeah, okay, these are potentially possible, is because of regulation. And the FAA in particular, a couple of years ago started to put out some really clear directional regulation around beyond visual line of sight. So everything in the commercial drone industry lives and dies on regulation. The FAA, Transport Canada, et cetera, in regulated markets, it's all the revenues and EBITDA, everything else is going to go up and down based on regulation. And we got a great tailwind at our back in that regard. So, so we should be growing. The global economy's had a good spanking, and lots of challenges out there in lots of industries. But if you're not growing in this industry, it's a problem. Now we have supply chain challenges and everything else, but the reality is, this industry is absolutely booming right now. The fact that our numbers aren't bigger than they are, the fact that our numbers aren't infinitely bigger than they are, is simply because we're building out capacity. We've chosen a path of organic growth. Not that we're not looking at acquisitions and such. We're really focused on our engineering, our IP, our direct customer relationships, and being able to work with those folks and build an infrastructure that's going to allow us to really capture the total size of this market. We're not in this, to be, a great business. We are in this to be the industry. We are in this to be an industry leading, top 3 player. And that's going to make us a $100 million organization.
Nice.
So the
Wow.
pragmatic,
Okay, I love those words, Cam.
yeah, and so the pragmatic nature of like making sure that we're scaling our resources, both our capacity, our manufacturing capability, our engineering staff, our culture, all that type of stuff has been, it's been arduous to say the least. So, we could drive bigger numbers and hit some big spikes, but I think that's our fifth record quarter. I think that's true. That's our fifth record quarter.
How about this? It's endless right now. It's just
Yeah.
record. By the way, the global regulations, or especially FAA and in Canada, is that an indication, Cam, of the bigger macro picture that governments are starting to realize the importance that drones are going to play in our economy, in our healthcare, and how we do things? Do you think that's a great sign, and that's what they believe?
So certainly in North America, where you've got a very mature economy, incorporating something as disruptive as drones into it, not just disruptive, but I mean like game-changing, inflation driving down technologies and services and such. You've got to consider all the other industries it affects. You have to consider all the other people it affects. You're not in the middle of a desert or a Sahara or a remote area or a war zone where, regulation isn't important. You're flying drones over people's head. They're carrying packages. They're delivering things. They're critical part of the infrastructure for emergency response. Regulation is really important. In fact, regulation is what will allow this drone industry to grow and help ensure. Can you imagine the aviation industry without regulation? I mean, it would be.
Once we got the rules in place, then everybody can say, okay, I want drones for this. I want drones for that.
Customers know what to expect. Customers have a certain standard of vendor or manufacturer that they can count on. Those vendors and manufacturers are held to a certain standard. It's better for the whole industry. It's better for the whole economy. So it's unfolding, and it's unfolding as fast as it can unfold. And I do not think, regardless of, I think what's really important is that we see consistent record revenue, not necessarily the size or even the percentage increases right now. It's just consistency is the most important thing. That absolutely explosive curve, that hockey stick that people talk about, hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen, but the demand is there. But the reason it hasn't happened yet is strictly because of the capacity of the quality manufacturer.
Yeah, you're getting ready for it. You want to be ready for it. You don't want to just run around and do patchwork. You want to create the foundation, all the elements, so then you can put tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars of revenue on top of that without having to worry about supporting it.
Well, I mean, in fact, the customers that we have, at the door right now, that's what they're demanding. So it's not even a matter of, geez, we'd sure like to jack our numbers up, to kind of get everything going and just feel better about life and have the stock higher and all that type of stuff. We'd love to cut, part of me is like, oh, let's get her going. But the customers that we have, right, and the size and the scale of the things that they're asking for us just don't allow us to even do that. So in some respects, we kind of feel like, pat ourselves in the back, and we're feeling very pragmatic and trying to do things the right way. Just the reality is, when you've got an order that's come in, I can cite lots of them, but the only one I can really talk about right now, say, is Digital Dream Lab. One example, that's a $9 million a year order for 3 years in a row. That requires tooling. It requires, it's just amazing. So you've got to be able to build that in order to meet that demand. And that's one of, I'd hazard to say how many, that are not just in the pipeline, but that we're prepping for. So,
I like when you drop those little Easter eggs there.
Man, I just,
Hey, you're another sign of your financial strength and your financials, because I like to look at these closely, right? Is that your margin is growing, revenue is growing, and your margin is growing. So you're at 42.8%. This quarter, you at 36.8. So I did a quick calculation. So your margin is growing as well by just under 17%. So you've got not only sales power, but pricing power, it seems like, which is also a good sign of demand. It means that you guys are able to pick and choose great projects to work on.
Yeah, it is. And I think we're at the top of the curve of that margin right now, and it could end up being a little bit choppy going forward, but that's more about the maturing of the business. Certainly hardware, our strategy is for hardware pricing and margin to always be coming down. So right now we've got lots of new innovation, lots of demand, lack of capacity on the manufacturing side globally, from the industry to be able to meet that demand. You've got supply chain issues. So customers are patient because every industry is waiting 18 weeks or 12 weeks for delivery on product. and even services at time. So, you know, we're in a bit of a good spot as that regards. That being said, we're very, very focused on our IP. We're very focused on our data services. We're very focused on our actual flight services, because those are our high margin businesses. And that's entirely where we're going to be continuing to drive our business. Now, we need to maintain being a manufacturer for a number of reasons. Primarily, that's how you maintain the security chain. Two, you starting with the idea, but then, you know, kind of right after the idea is, what is the airframe that needs to carry this unique sensor or can add something to be able to make your service or your product uniquely different? And that's what drives your service revenue. So you need to be able to, in our opinion, our solutions, you know, strategy is that you need to be able to be a manufacturer so that you can develop unique product. Now, that hardware product, we're going to do everything we can to drive the price down. We want to give this stuff away. We want to give it away as much as we can, you know, as our data, software and services revenue, you know.
That's where the money is, right? It's not in selling the drone. You want to get that drone into GeorgeCom and then creating ongoing service revenue forever and ever and ever and more and more.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, I want to go into your new products, where your balance sheet too, people should know, is very strong. $16.2 million. I was reading that right on the balance sheet as of the end of June, as of the end of the quarter.
Correct. Yeah. And we, you know, nice. So we've got well over a year's worth of runway in front of us. You know, we've been in business for 20 some years, so we know how to scale a business to be able to be EBITDA positive when we need to be. But right now, it's really about market share, and it's really about satisfying customer expectations. So we're going to continue to invest in that market share and customer expectation cycle, and then you know, and then look to even that out over the next 12 to 18 months. Now, we've got some big product initiatives. We've got some very big customer implementations and integrations that will be unfolding. We've got a couple of potential acquisitions that may be interesting. You know, so it's, I'm not saying that we wouldn't use up those cash in those specific situations.
But you got but bottom line is you have the power to do what you got to do.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we've got optionality. We've got optionality in front
which is really important for everyone at home also, because look, markets have been a little bit financial turmoil. So small cap companies that are struggling, that might have been more speculative, they're just not going to get the funding. A lot of these companies are going to struggle, maybe even die. But here you guys are, you've got a ton of support, you got a big balance sheet. So I think it's important for everyone at home to know.
It's a buyer's market for sure. It's an investor's market. And so we need to remain very, very conscious of that. And when we look at our balance sheet and or the options to take in more capital to grow the business, it has to be very carefully weighed off, you know, against, you know, what is that upside going to be? And, you know, we rarely or ever, if ever, take a short-term view. But if we can't, you know, very, very pragmatically justify any income capital or any incoming capital, you know, based against the, you know, the eventual EPS and how it's going to drive shareholder value, you know, we can't do that, which is why we've not done any acquisitions of late either. We've just been organic and focused on organic growth. It's the best use of our capital right now.
Yeah, well, look, you know, guys, that's why I'm saying, you know, the income statement, the balance sheet for the quarter says it all. It's not just Cam talking the talk, they're walking the walk. Let's talk about innovation going forward. You got 3 new products. It's called the heavy lift drone, which I can imagine what that means. The Commander 3XL and the drone and long range LiDAR. Let's talk a little bit about each and why they're going to impact. Some people might right now say, "Oh, I don't want to hear about some new product," but let's talk about how these are going to impact. There's a reason why you're bringing this into the fold.
Yeah, you know, great observation again. And the fact for us is that our products aren't about selling products. They're in support of a longer term solution. So they're in support of big solution sales that we have coming down the pipe from customers that require very specific long-term either services contracts or data contracts or AI software type driven contracts. And this is the hardware that was developed out of it, right, in order for us to be able to provide those. So we're in a bit of a unique and you know, privileged, if you will, position to be able to have had customers for the last 20 years. And they've all been waiting to pull the trigger on drone fleets and all the uses that were possible. But because of regulation, the commercial market didn't exist. Certainly there was a military market and there was a consumer market, but the commercial market in that $20 billion number is just that big, which is also why we've been a small company up till now. And every other company that's tried to be in that space as a commercial company, literally in North America, has gone out of business. So the products that we come, they're products, but they're really part of bigger solutions for much bigger industry type sales. So first of all,
something like that.
Yeah, it has to reside underneath a strategy that's driven by customer demand. So the heavy lift drone, this thing can carry just about 70 pounds for about an hour. We have a medium lift. In fact, we had 3 products that we announced last quarter. We had a product before that we announced as well, which is the medical response drone. And the medical response drone is a medium lift drone, does about 35 pounds. And that's the main delivery product that we're using in Ukraine right now for humanitarian and resupply. And so now the heavy lift drone is
what's an example of an application, Cameron, for the heavy lift? What kind of application would require up to 70 pounds of drone delivery for an hour?
Well, you can look at anything, any type of delivery that might be in the light industrial space. It might be in the resupply space. It might be in the remote location space. When you think about resupply, think about Ukraine. You think about being able to resupply, pockets of people, in ways that before you used to have to get trucks in there. And you think 70 pounds, well, really, how much is that? But you have to keep in mind that you can fly hundreds of these things at the same time, right? As opposed to like trying to drive a column of, supply trucks into a particular area, which there may not be bridges, there may be hostile activity, there may be all kinds of things. So it's really a capability to look at resupply in maybe a military sense and maybe other senses, and then your light industrial area. Where this is really going to go to, think about ship to shore, think about ports, think about those types of things, and those are big customers that we have discussions ongoing with. So it's really taking.
But I love the fact you come out these products because they're in anticipation and response of what your customers are already going to be looking to you for solutions, as opposed to just let's put out a heavy lift and a 3XL and see if we can sell some of these. I love that's in response to what customers are going to be coming down the pipe, man.
Yeah, that's that. We're just in that luxurious position where we don't have to guess, and our R&D is based on what our customers, so it's kind of like a lean startup model for every single product that we go through. We've got the 3XL drone, which is the one that you see just above my my shoulder here, and this is a switchblade type of a drone, whereby it basically breaks down into a package about this size. Literally, if you had a pair of cargo pants on, you can whip it in the side pocket. Takes up this little side pocket of a backpack. Gets together in literally a couple of minutes. You pop it up into the air. This thing can carry, it's just crazy what's happening in engineering right now.
I love it.
This thing, right, can carry just about 30 pounds. And it is the size of like those little
thing with my cargo pants. The fact that I can put it right in there and almost carry my suitcase.
It's insane.
And check in at the airport. That's pretty wild, man.
So it's very unsexy looking. It's very utilitarian. It's very, this is, some fun applications that we're looking at right now with different firefighting units is like, this thing's, it's dropping chainsaws into areas, right? For bush fighters, and it's dropping.
Unbelievable.
That's it. Like, man, we got hot spotting over there. We need extra chainsaws. We need fuel. We need whatever, like just really, really cool applications. And of course, all the payloads, from this small little drone are also payloads that are interchangeable amongst our fixed wing, our heavy lift, our medical response drone. Like they're all, totally interchangeable. So we just put this out for order. It actually doesn't start shipping until October, and it's robust. The demand and our pipelines are full, and we got a ridiculous amount of demos set up for it. Law enforcement's looking really heavily at this thing. It's actually being considered as a DFR, a drone as a first responder, all kinds of different sensors that you can put on it. And so it's a really fun product. I'm really proud of the engineering team. They took a long time to put it together, but they really did it right. And they just made it super, super simple. Like it's,
the way you're talking right now about releasing in October, I think there's going to come a time when DraganFly, and specifically you as the CEO, you're almost going to be in the same situation as Elon Musk when he's announcing our newest innovation on an electric vehicle. We're doing this. We're the fast one, the truck. Like there's going to come a point, I'm pretty confident about this. It's going to take next 3 years or so where people are going to be saying, hey, DraganFly's come out the new product and here's the press conference, it's gonna be online or whatever the case is, like the way Elon Musk or the way Steve Jobs used to do it for release. That's how big of a deal I think drones are going to become in our future. Am I overstating that? And maybe
No, I don't think
George,
so.
maybe
No,
a little too enthusiastic.
You think you think, or if you reflect back to, for those that are old enough, us that are old enough, and or if you look at the history of product releases, the things that like the phone industry or the tech industry does today is what the car industry used to do, right? Like the biggest product releases every year were at the car shows, and the new Lincoln coming out, and the new da 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 da. And these are things, and that's really how mainstreaming drones are going to be. But it's also not just because it's a new feature, it's because it has so many solutions that it can solve. People can picture themselves needing or wanting this particular product when explained through story, which Jobs was the master of and Musk is incredibly good at. And yeah, so for sure, I mean, that's 100%. But again, coming up with a drone product that can stay up 10 minutes longer or fly 500 feet higher really isn't that interesting. But when you're talking about a product that can be dropping chainsaws into bush fires for different things, and it really is meaningful, then all of a sudden it's like, wow, okay, that's I want to understand it. So I'd like to think that we'll get to that spot.
Yeah, we're going to be there. I can almost see it. It's just only a matter of time. Let's talk about a couple of specific applications. Ukraine, you've mentioned that a couple of times. There's two things going on there. First, you've got the search rescue.
George, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second because I forgot to mention. You asked about the LiDAR. So
sorry.
No, my bad. Now this is a big distinction, in my opinion, about our solution strategy as opposed to a manufacturing or a hardware utility strategy or go out and buy different people and just kind of cobble it all together strategy. So we designed our own LiDAR. Now LiDAR, right, is basically a radiometric wave that shoots out, bounces back. Depending on its, I'll call it density right now, it goes through different things. You can map a forest and see the floor, right? You can see every little leaf. You can see it actually can do ground penetration. It gives you these amazing 3D models. LiDAR is an exploding industry.
It's basically eyes for the drones at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, well, it's a way to map. Drones and cars are using it as an eye and a sense and avoid type of technology as well. And so LiDAR is about to go through the same thing that drones went through about 2 years ago when, big business and the government realized that these sensors, right, are really security risks. So if you've got a Chinese LiDAR, and most of the LiDAR right now is produced in China or the United States, but there's a big price disparity. And so you can sell, and deploy US LiDAR systems, really expensive, really high quality, amazing product. Or you could deploy these Chinese ones, which quite frankly are really good quality, all those types of things, but they're offshore made. And the challenge is, if you think a drone, the drone can fly the instrument that collects the data, but the data is collected by that LiDAR. So we're about to see all of these sensors, in my opinion, start to go through the exact same process that drones went through at a government and a big business level, where it's like agencies are not going to be allowed to purchase cameras or optics or sensors or LiDAR, all these things, unless they are from a North American or a certified secured, manufacturer. And so preemptively, and again, this is based on customer demand, we've built our own LiDAR system.
Wow, so it's your own LiDAR that
100% our own LiDAR. Like everybody thinks the drone the drone doesn't collect the data. The drone flies what collects the data. What collects the data is the sensor. And this sensor is the absolute, it's probably the software, but it is so incredibly important. So this LiDAR that we built, first of all, comes in at a price point that's about half. It's about a third more than what the Chinese, kind of products are at. But it's North American built, and it's got all the same features that a DraganFly, the drone would have in terms of security and reliability and onshore access to customer service, et cetera, et cetera. So from a market positioning standpoint, we think it's really well positioned. The second aspect of it, however, really is because it's our own product and because we have a lot of our own software knowledge into it, it is differentiated. So when we fly a LiDAR mission, we can do certain AI that other LiDAR systems cannot do. Right. Because we're that end-to-end solution.
It's not just LiDAR.
It's not just LiDAR. It's really a data collection and interpretation and analysis tool, for a forestry company or a long-form infrastructure company like pipelines or power lines or things like that. So we're winning some great business with this already.
Right, because so a little extra cost isn't a big deal anymore because it's LiDAR plus unbelievable functionality to go with it. It's not just straight.
And it is coming in at a cost that's less than the other secure systems out there. The other thing that we designed about this particular LiDAR system is, they really are, is this LiDAR can go on a helicopter, can go on a drone, and it can go in your backpack. Click into any one of them, right?
So you're seeing potential licensing opportunities down the road where you're going to keep for drones, but if someone wants to put on a helicopter or someone wants to put it somewhere else, you can just license out the tech.
We're talking with customers now that are looking at it for their their forestry operations, for example. If they don't want to fly services and they want to have their own LiDAR, they'll buy the entire LiDAR system from us. The reality is they can put it on their helicopter or on their contractor, their vendor's helicopter, or they can put it on their own drone fleet, or they can give it to their folks that are also, planting trees and walking their forest lines, for example, doing the, and taking and capturing all the data at the same time, and it all integrates. So again, it's a solution mindset, and that LiDAR will fit onto everything from our medium lift drone, obviously up to our heavy lift drone.
I think I need to redo my intro because you said I was like, oh, energy and all this great info. Now that I'm hearing this, I think I need to redo the intro and take the energy up another level because I'm loving. This is why I'm so big on DraganFly. Anyways, I can't stop talking enough about it. And when I hear these kind of solutions, because I know what LiDAR. I'm glad you explained to everyone. I know what LiDAR is, especially how important it is in autonomous vehicles. That's where we typically hear the applications. But now to hear that you guys are putting it on drones and it comes with AI capabilities on top of that is just mind blowing. It's unbelievable what you guys are doing, man.
So, these LiDAR systems are $50,000 to $150,000. And, a 10-day LiDAR service packet, mission is, I hazard to say, but it's a couple $100,000, could be up to a couple $100,000, right? So when you're doing that type, you can see the impact they're going to have on the numbers, right? That's the point. And there's literally hundreds of opportunities out there to sell the LiDAR and to sell the services.
And LiDAR is ready to go right now. Your LiDAR,
yes, no, it's not. Yeah, completely.
So, I'm going to make a big assumption, but would it be reasonable to assume that sometime before now and maybe the end of the year, we might get our first bits of LiDAR news, LiDAR sale, commercialization kind of news?
That's the goal. Yeah.
All right, buddy. Can't wait.
We're well down the path, so I'd be disappointed if not.
Let's talk about the Ukraine a little bit. We all know that you've deployed many drones now for search, rescue, and medical response. So two things I want to ask is just an update how that part is going. And then the second part is you now have expanded the capabilities to demining efforts, landmines. So let's talk first about the update, how the medical response side is going, and then we'll talk about the demining part.
Yeah, so I would say the humanitarian and the delivery medical response really kind of has three areas I would think about. First of all, the initial deployment of these and getting them into theater has been much more difficult than we anticipated. The logistics, the coordination of the flights. You put a drone up in the air, everything stops, everybody freezes. If it's not coordinated with the territorial defense or with DoD or with other humanitarian agencies, people don't know if it's friendly, if it's hostile, what the purpose is, those types of things. So we've been learning a ton in that. So the deployments have been slower than we anticipated. However, they're really picking up pace now. We've continued to ship, every few weeks, there's new shipments that go in, and pretty much every drone system that we've put in, or every series of shipments that have gone in with some learnings, right? Some additional modifications. So the latest ones that are going in with multiple cameras on them. So almost, basically 360 views. We're not technically stitching them all together for real time, 360 flying, but we've got, first person flying, multiple cameras on them. Really important because as you're coming into landing or drop zones, now you need to have a better situational awareness of what's happening around everybody. Not because you're necessarily worried about combatants, but it's the other people in the area are very unpredictable. Are they rushing towards it to get the stuff? Are they undercover? Are they staying? You just need to know everything that's going on. So that was one really big learning. We also switched the box from top mounted to underneath, and it's actually got a drop a capability now.
Right.
So it basically comes in hot. It's got a maximum 2-second basically wait time, and even that would be a long time, where it autonomously hits about a 2.5 to 3 foot ceiling, drops a package and is out of there super quick. People don't want to wait, go up to a drone that's there, they don't know what's out there, they don't know if it's explosive, they don't know what it is, so it drops a package, the package
Absolutely, yeah.
marked, people know it's coming in, all that to the best of our ability, and then it's out of there. And there's been a number of communications, the ability to, we've increased the range, we've doubled the range of the communications on it. We put a bunch of different processes and procedures and technology on board to help prevent jamming or help enable jamming to jammers. So there's a lot of new tech that's going in that we're learning, but this is the stuff that's giving us, I think, years of accelerated learning in terms of this type of a theater, and the learnings that we'll take back to, the more commercial markets here in North America.
By the way, are you guys able to provide, or is it maybe you can't because it's sensitive, but any chance we'll get to see some footage of the drones themselves making a drop or things like that? If we can, great. If we can't, we understand. But
yeah, no, naively, I thought that wouldn't be a problem at all, and then you realize everything is intelligence. Right.
Yeah,
every optics, it's all intelligence. And so there's a clearing process that has to happen. And so again, with that part of the learning, but there's dramatic footage. It's unbelievable. The job and the mission that these people.
Well, maybe one day we'll see it historically.
No, yeah, I'm confident that we'll have a steady stream at some point when we work through some of that of the impact they're having and the learnings and the lessons that we're all there. But again, you don't know these things until you get into it. Right. Or I don't anyways. I'm not smart enough to think that.
No, listen, you're providing brand new technology to a brand new theater. Obviously, there's going to be a learning curve of things that you didn't know. So let's talk about the demining side. So you've already had the technology. You've announced this in the past where you use artificial intelligence in order to be able to detect landmines and things like that. Is that technology being used here? Is it something different? Give us some context and discuss maybe the tech that's surrounding this, because
so we have a fantastic partner in country. It's a sizable company, already works with the government at lots of levels. We've had lots of government interaction, all kinds of different agencies. We're demoing, we're testing, we're learning, we're training, and basically the product vision of what's unfolding very quickly. Imagine, if you will, a couple of vans pull up to an area of interest that's been designated for mine detection, and quite literally a small fleet, 3 to 5 drones are out, and they're covering that area, and they're flying multiple sensors, which could include but are not limited to LiDAR, magnetometer, hyper, multi, optical, and thermal, and we're now working a little bit with some ground penetrating radar. All of those fly those missions. They'll fly them like in a morning, for example. They'll come back, that data will start to get processed, then they'll fly them, in the afternoon, after any of the contents in that field can be heated up. Because, often if you've got ceramics, or if you've got plastics, or if you've got wood that's being used as mines, magnetometer doesn't necessarily pick them up well, but pretty much everything out there conducts heat. And so you're able to see these anomalies, and as they heat up, and your thermal cameras can pick them up and do the change detection. They all go back into a software, and a map is produced as quickly as possible. And then that mapping is provided out to the demining crews. And so over a little bit of time here, we already have had some pretty good success, but certainly over.
I was going to ask you that, what kind of success have you guys had?
Yeah, well, yeah, in terms of classification, right? So we're getting these anomaly readings, and then we're able to start to classify, not just if it's a tank or an anti-personnel or whatever, but even starting to, and where we want to get to is that we can get right down to models, and then we can maybe even start to have some predictive analysis around, how they were laid, and, maybe even, what units or what type of deployment was done in order to delay these, what was the strategy or non-strategy behind them. Like, there's an incredible amount of intelligence that will come with the data that we're able to analyze. Now, I don't want to overpromise. That will just take some the real value of what will happen out of this. It'll take 40 years by some accounts to demine the Ukraine. And for every day of war, there's 30 days of demining.
I can't believe in a few months they've laid enough mines over there that require 40 years.
Yeah, every day is another month. Every day.
Oh my goodness, that's an absolute tragedy, man.
So there's the human cost, the economic cost, the psychological. It just goes on. So it's a big mission. And we're not the only ones over there, solving these problems or helping solve these problems, but we're certainly in a very intricate position with access to some incredible people and minds, and I believe that what we're doing will become a standard. That's our goal anyway. And there's, I hate to say it, there's more business than we'll ever do in that regard.
Hey, none of us are happy about that, but if the problem has to be solved, we're glad that you guys are solving it. So last thing, Cam, from record revenues to saving lives and saving future lives, how proud, how happy should DraganFly shareholders be, and how optimistic should they be about where the company's going?
We're a company that's trying to do the right thing, right? And the right results are going to show. It's I think we all sleep really well at night knowing what's unfolding, and people are passionate. There's not an evening or a weekend that there aren't teams and people, working way more than they should in order to make things happen. So like the whole drone aid initiative, where we had shareholders that are stepping up and donating money to put drones over in the Ukraine. That's 100% grassroots initiative. I wish that was our idea. That was our shareholders, stepping up and saying, how do we do this and get direct impact? Like, how could we be a part of that? So, when you start to have alignment, look, we don't do everything perfect and even well sometimes, but when you start to have alignment, from your customer right through to your employee, right through to your shareholder, great things are going to happen. Great things are happening, but great results will happen.
Well, I think I speak on behalf of everybody, man. All shareholders, we're incredibly proud to be a part of a company like DraganFly. Innovation, record revenues, saving lives. It's just a whole package, and we thank you and the team for what you guys are doing, Cam. Thanks so much, man. Here we are in the middle of August when everyone's taking it easy, and you guys are out there literally saving lives, demining. It's unbelievable, man. Way to go. Congratulations.
Well, I got to throw it out also, not just to our employees and our customers and our shareholders, but to the Ukrainian people as well on that particular topic. They're fighting our fight, and we need to do everything we can, because it's our fight and they're fighting it.
And DraganFly is behind him, and that's awesome, my friend. Can't wait to have you back. Try and take a little time off here in the last 10 days before the markets come back after Labor Day. But in the meantime, I can't believe what you guys have done in the first 2 quarters, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do by the end of the year.
George, you're amazing. Thank you.
For everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening to my podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, or your favorite podcast platform. To Cameron Shell, he's CEO of DraganFly, trades on the NASDAQ, DPRO. And for our friends in Canada, also on the same symbol, DPRO. For those new to the story, because you saw the headline about record revenues, and now you found out this amazing story, the company's profile page, because there's so much going on here, and drones and drone solutions aren't easy for everyone to understand because they're just burgeoning right now. We've got it all laid out for you. And then once you've got that foundational knowledge and you want to find out all the details about DraganFly, click over to the company's website, and hopefully today you discover your next amazing small cap technology company. Thanks for joining us. Have an amazing day. See you next time. Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel and never missing another great Agoracom small cap video.